Hello guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be sharing a game with you that I played at a tournament where I got a win out of a position that definitely should have been a draw. So it starts off, let me switch to my perspective, knight f3, and my opponent, I knew he was going to play this because we played a blitz game before the tournament when we didn't know we were going to play each other, and the place that I'm at has a bunch of opening books, so I went with c5. Because I'm learning the Sicilian, so I was hoping for e4, and if he plays d4, that's a line in the Benoni that I know. If he plays c4, which is what happens in the game, this is the English, something I know much better than the ready. So we got a symmetrical English. I'm controlling these squares, and my opponent is going to control those two squares with the knight on c3, which he delays by castling. I go for the d5 line, where I'm going to put the knight there, and then eventually I'll even attack this after this pawn is traded off. So my opponent goes e3, knight gd7, pretty much normal stuff. The engine is saying that this is all book moves and stuff. This is the best move. We take, and now d5. So this is striking in the center, attacking a lot of stuff, and the engine, as you can see, is already giving a slight advantage to me. So he takes, and then I take with the knight, which is not the right move, which I didn't really see the point of taking with the pawn, because if you take with the pawn, now you have an isolated queen pawn. Well, I guess they do too, but I didn't really see much point in this, so I took with the knight. And then my opponent goes knight c3, something he probably should have done a little while ago. And I guess this was the point, because I can't really take, because then he solidifies his center. So I go queen b6 here, just putting pressure on this pawn. And then he plays the first bad move of the game, which is not really that bad, but it is an inaccuracy. Queen b3, and of course I takes. I thought this was a free pawn for some reason. I forgot that the bishop and the knight open up after this. But we get all of these trades, and then I just castle. So you may be wondering how I got a draw out of an almost deadly symmetrical system. Opening, like literally all of this is symmetrical. The only two pieces that are not symmetrical are these two pawns, and you'll have to find out. So he attacks. I drop it to b6, defending this pawn so I can move the rook, which is going to take a while because I have to move the rook here and go like that. I didn't go for this line. He goes bishop h6, rook d8, and the bishop slides back. So rook b8. I didn't play rook b8 because after bishop f4, rook takes d8. But let's just pretend that's not a move. We're just going to pretend that it's not a move. Here, obviously he can win a pawn like that, but let's just pretend he can't. If he goes here, well, when I go back, now I have to play this in order to get my rook out, so I don't want to do that. So I play a good move. Wait, no, that's not the move I played. I played rook takes d1 check, rook takes d1, and bishop e6 going after this pawn. If he takes here, I calculated that I would take here, and then we would trade rooks, and I'd probably offer him a draw because this is very boring. But that's not what happened. Instead, after he took, I played rook b8, attacking the bishop because I like the open b file a little bit more. Bishop d5, I pinned it. He has to play f3. The point of pinning it is just my rook is a lot more active on d8 than on b8. So you go there, takes, we get a lot of trades, and now the bishop comes back attacking my pawn, and I play a5. Obviously trying to go a4, which happens. So now my pawn is 3 squares away from queening. Pawn is 3 squares away from queening, which is very important in this game. So bishop c3, controlling all my dark squares. But he can't ever really get the bishop in like that to control the king from going in like that, because my bishop's on this diagonal and he can't really remove it unless he gets the king there and then trades it off. Which is what he starts to do. I play bishop g4, locking the door like this. But the engine would rather apparently play a different move. Wait, why did it give this? Oh, never mind. It gave this the best move, yeah. So then we go there, and then it wanted f4. This is completely fine, though, because it's a draw. And this game is interesting because of the amount of draws that were offered, but never accepted. So h4 is a move that I didn't see. And I probably should have just brought it back to e7. As you can see, the engine is saying that I'm playing for a win, but I go to c1, targeting the pawn, maybe having some sacking ideas like this or something. He plays bishop d1, and apparently I'm supposed to take. I didn't like this because I was like, why am I playing that? Now the king is just going to get easy access to the pawns. Like, for example, king c2, king e6, and the king runs around. But apparently that's losing for f4. Wow, and his pawns are just really weak. I can just win them because I don't care about this. Oh, because the bishop protects. Alright, I didn't go for that. I instead played f4, trying to split up the pawns, but this move is a little bit premature because of the move g4, which just gets all of this, and I'm not really going to be able to attack the pawn like that. So it's a little bit better for him. He doesn't play that. He instead takes, which makes a lot of sense. Now it's very even, and it's really hard to blunder a draw. Also, I don't have a light squared bishop to take this pawn, so he can kind of win this relatively easily. But I sacrifice the bishop with f takes g3, which is the only move in the position, because if my opponent takes, obviously that's losing, because I just queen, and yeah, he lost. So my opponent also finds the best move, takes, and then I bring it back. I bring the bishop to here because this is the only move. There's not really another space to bring it to. He attacks it, and I play bishop c5, and then here I offer him a draw. As you can see, this is very easily a draw. He didn't accept. I guess he thought the king was gonna come like this, and it looks pretty good for him. But he goes king here because I don't really know why he didn't go king d3. Obviously, that's threatening to win the pawn. I guess he didn't like bishop f2. Here, takes. Okay, maybe he shouldn't have done that. But he can just play. He can just, instead of going for that, he can just put the bishop there to defend, for example. So that looks fine for him. But he didn't play that. He instead played king f3, king e6. Obviously, that's the quickest way to the center. King e4, and then now I attack the pawn, which is actually kind of hard to defend because the line now it's calculating that if he goes here, I calculated bishop a3. I don't know if I would have played that. I think I was calculating like bishop e5 to attack both pawns. Two weaknesses. He can't defend either. He's gonna, especially this one. He also can't defend with a bishop like this because I would just take. So this is losing. So he instead plays g4, h5, and then before he makes his move here, he offers me a draw. But I thought I had too much initiative with moves like that and that. And I said this is a small trap. He has to take if he does anything else, like if he pushes with g5, I have bishop g3, and I win the pawn. If he goes back with the bishop like this, well, obviously I just take this. And if he tries to defend with king f3, then this is losing because of bishop e7, which goes back to the two weaknesses thing like this. That's pretty bad. So my opponent finds the right move. We trade, and this looks very drawn, which it is, but it's a lot harder. So my opponent plays king d3, the best move apparently, which looks kind of weird. Like I'm just going to come in and take this, but I go for the pawn. He probably should have also gone for the pawn, and I think that is the move. You got to play king c4 in this position, and it's a draw. Like it's hard to win. But yeah, it's still a draw. And you also, yeah, it's a draw. You can't take though, because if you take, bishop f2 locks the door, and the bishop is never getting in. So the bishop is just standing here, a pretty useless piece. If you bring the bishop to a5, h4, and if you play bishop b6, or you can't play bishop b6, I'm sorry, if you play bishop c7, then pretty much every move is winning, but like bishop g3 is the most winning. Bishop b6 here, bishop g1, and then you can like even attack it like that, but basically the king is too close. So he didn't do that. He blunders the only move that is a blunder, which is bishop d2. And it is winning because yeah, because I just take the pawn. I guess he was thinking that the bishop was in time, which it looks like it is, but it is actually not, because the bishop's coming here to stop this square. The king stops this square, so the only other square with the bishop is f3. And then I push, or I don't push yet. Actually, I go to make sure that I'm in time to defend the pawn. Game Review Engine says this is a mistake. Browser Stockfish says it's not that bad. He comes in with check. Obviously, king b5. It looks pretty obvious because it is. I thought this was a trap, but anyway, bishop f3, h4. He starts trying to bring the bishop, and then pretty simple stuff. I win, but it's very important that I don't mess this up, because there's only one move that wins here for white, and every other move loses. So let's say you just go king c4, and you're trying to defend. Well, black now has king c1, and you're too slow to even get to this pawn. Let's say you take this. Well, black's actually getting stalemated, and you can't ever come close to, because this is stalemate. So it's crazy. So I play the only move, which is bishop f4 check. The king comes to c3, and then I play the only move again, which is king to a4, but defending the pawn. That's pretty obvious to see. And then the king runs, and you have to be pretty careful here, but I win the pawn, and then right here my opponent resigns. But the crazy thing about this game is that the first move where the draw was offered at bishop c5, after he played king f3, yeah, he offered me a draw here, he offered me a draw here, and then I think he offered me a draw right here. I guess he was really hoping that I'd go back and then get the draw, but yeah, we got the win. That's it for today, and I'll see you later.